And Dame Dash could really come out, and if people asked Dame Dash, because he's just not going to volunteer that information, if people asked Dame Dash, who was his partner in Rockefeller Records, who put Jay-Z on, who's been with him he was with him for so many years, Dame Dash would confirm that Jay-Z is bisexual.
You said that DJ Khaled, Sway Calloway, RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, you've even said Jay-Z are bisexual.
Correct.
Do you stand by that?
For sure. I can stand by, like, the three people of Khaled and Sway and RZA from what happened on One Shot, because I was there and I like heard it, and you know, it was like being in a room with, you know, people having sex, because that's what they were doing. It was very loud, it was very vulgar, and it was unbelievable to actually experience that, you know. And I noticed people are saying, like, why is he laying down? Why is he covered up? It's like, I'm laying down because I have stage 4 arthritis.
Like, you've never been a publicist for Jay-Z, right? But you've made some statements about Jay-Z as well. And a lot of people want to know, how do you know these things?
Well, I've been a publicist for Jay-Z's artist, who's a Mill, who was involved with Jay-Z from his third album. You know, she was on, you know, Can I Get A?
One of the biggest things I saw in the comment section was that people were saying you have been sent here to help as part of some larger scheme to rewrite hip-hop history. What's your response to that? Another thing that I saw was that this has been racially motivated. So in other words, it seems that everyone that you quote-unquote exposed, or that you have a story to tell about, happens to be of African-American descent or a black person. What's your response to that? So you haven't been paid, or no one's threatened your life to put you in a position where you're going to come out and say these things? Okay, so did I remember hearing correctly? Did you ever say Drake as well? Did I hear you say his name in the Truth Is interview, or no?
Hopefully I didn't say that. If I did, well, I mean, yeah, because you saw the paperwork that I showed you. That'd be wild, you know. There's a, you know, signed agreement from Drake, and then about 2 weeks later, Scorpion dropped, and he's talking about Louisville hush money. While the duct tape was around my eyes and I was sitting in that chair, I was praying, you know, if we survive this, God, I'll never do any kind of violent music, any kind of rap music. I won't do anything to promote any of that lifestyle again.
So barely 5 days ago, I dropped a video on this channel reacting to this interview of a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Hay, who's a music industry publicist, talk about several things that he's witnessed in the music industry over his, 20 years in the industry. And little did I know, this interview or this video will go on to do about 300,000 views in the first 24 hours. And it is now sitting at well over 500,000 views in just 4.5 days. Why did this video go viral? Well, because of his ties to a lot of these people, like Rihanna, like DJ Khaled, like Jay-Z, like Drake. His proven ties to a lot of these people, but more importantly, what he was willing to say on camera, with his face on camera, and provide a little bit of proof. Well, since the video went viral, I've gotten in contact with Jonathan Hay, and I actually interviewed him myself. And not only did I interview him, but I asked a lot of the questions that you all were asking in the comment section. The tough questions, the hard questions, the real questions. I'm a regular person just like y'all are. I have the same questions that y'all have. Like, is he in denial, and is he the one that's really bisexual? Is somebody paying him to say this or talk about this? Why is he only talking about the black celebrities? What else do he know? How do we know? Why should we believe him when he's already lied on Rihanna and Jay-Z in the past?
And the Beyonce Becoming Beyonce book comes out in 2015. And it talks about me being the person who put out the rumor. And, you know, it went viral back then in 2015. I went on Inside Edition. I apologize for putting out the rumor.
It was the rumor would not go away. Rihanna was romancing Jay-Z behind Beyonce's back. But now, at last, we can put that rumor to rest.
Did Rihanna and Jay-Z have an affair?
No.
It was all a publicity stunt.
Justin Hay is a music industry publicist who says he made up the whole affair to get attention for Rihanna's first single back in 2005. Makes that shocking revelation in the new book, Becoming Beyonce, an unauthorized biography by best-selling author J. Randy Carabarelli.
How do we know that he actually know these people? Well, he not only agreed to interview with me, but he showed me proof, real proof. We talking about emails, we're talking about NDAs, we're talking about agreements, all of that. Communication with these people, he showed me all of that in this interview. This video is the type of video that people should be charged for, but I'm not going to charge you. The things that you're about to hear in this interview are all things that are not my opinions. They are coming from someone else. They do not represent this channel. They do not represent the perspectives of Diddy necessarily. Do I believe the things that he's talking about? Yes. Do I believe the things that he's telling me for the most part? Yes. But these are not my opinions, and I am not the one that's saying it. I also want to say that because a lot of you in the comment section have consistently said another person's about to be sued, another cease and desist coming, defamation. I'm not defaming anybody's name. If I was to say anything, it's alleged. These are the opinions of another human being whom I barely know, and I've only known for 2 days. I've only been in communication with for 2 days. I want to make that clear. And the last thing I want to say before we watch the video is this is a very long interview. It's well over an hour, but it's worth it. When I talk about evidence, he's showing all of it. I'm asking him why he's choosing to show all of it. I asked him all the hard questions, and he answered them. All of them. So I included in the description or the comment section, I'm going to include the timestamps if you want to just click to certain parts of the interview. I've already did the hard work for you, but I will really advise anybody who's really interested in this and to know what's going on in the music industry, how it ties to the politicians and the people who run this world. If you want a better understanding of this stuff, I advise you to watch the entire interview. You will not be disappointed. All of it. Hop in the comment section, give me your thoughts. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell because they do not report that my videos are being posted. So if you hit the notification bell, you will always know when a lot of other videos in the future just like this one are going to come out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for being here. Let's get into this.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
Right here with me, I have Jonathan Hay. If I'm pronouncing his name correctly. First and foremost, man, thank you so much for deciding to interview with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so obviously, you've done a couple of interviews over the past, I believe, 2 weeks. The interview with Jaguar Wright was how long ago?
So the way it started is I did an interview with Tasha Tells, and then went from Tasha Tells to Jaguar Wright. Real Life Productions, and then I did Tasha K, and Tasha K and we got into like a really strange argument, and she cut off the stream, and then I did The Truth Is, and now here I am with you.
So wait, I didn't know you did one with Tasha K. Did the interview ever come out?
No, she cut it off.
How long ago was that?
Like right after the Jaguar Wright, because you know she has a beef with Jaguar Wright.
I didn't know that.
I wasn't gonna let her, I wasn't gonna let her just say anything about Jaguar Wright. I was respectful, of course, but it was just weird. And she has all those lawsuits and just wasn't right. I was very standoffish. I really didn't want to do it anyways, but they kept pressuring me to do it. And I was just like, okay. And then it got really raw. Okay. So I didn't know that, man. But much like then, so I saw you on Truth Is. I've been following his channel for quite some time. And for all of you who are watching this episode, please go and check out Truth Is channel. Probably my favorite channel on YouTube. I just love the stuff that he exposes and talks about. Whether people choose to believe all of it or not, I just love his intentions behind it as a believer. So I think I want to do kind of like how he did it as well, which I want to start from the beginning, tell people who you are. And a lot of people understand you've been industry publicist, but kind of talk about what a publicist is, what your job was or is, and how you got into it. So I became a publicist by luck, by chance. It was never something that I ever, even thought about because I came up, in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I was like more interested in being in a Christian rap group with my childhood friend. And I've never even said that publicly. But anyway, so I would like produce beats you know, like make like little 4-tracks on a Tascam, and he would rap. So after high school, he went to the Navy, and then I started going to college at Jefferson Community College and also Louisville Business School. I was doubling up going to both. And while I was there, I somehow found a studio on South 5th Street called Studio 550. And I went into the studio, and it just changed everything. So I was like making bigger beats there. I was working with, you know, rap artists, and my family didn't know that I was going downtown so much and doing like hip hop, because they didn't see hip hop as anything positive, right? Because I grew up in the South. It's a lot better now than what it was, and it was a lot better then than what it was before then, right? But still there was that, you know, my family wasn't really supportive of rap music or anything like that, you know, because they felt the content was vulgar. But I was more into like Public Enemy, you know, X-Clan, you know, stuff like that. More of the positive, you know, hip hop, like Eric B. and Rakim, you know, who are my heroes. And they heard like the bravado, and they probably took it as negative, but it wasn't. You know, like Public Enemy is one of the most positive groups of all time to me. So I grew up on that. It was a constant rebellion. And, you know, when you're a child, you know, the more your parents tell you not to do something, the more you're going to do it. So I got more submersed, you know, into the hip hop and into the hip hop culture. And so I'm doing these tracks, and then I meet this man named Gary Meeks, and he was my mentor, and he was the father of Travis Meeks, who was the lead singer of Days of the New. And we had a major record deal with Interscope and Geffen in '97. And the record that Days of the New did was spent 17 weeks #1. And Days of the New started to tour with like Metallica, Aerosmith, like all like the big rock bands. And so that's how I came into it. And it was like, I didn't even know what a publicist was. I think it was the lead singer who put it on me. He was like, you should be a publicist. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. You know, that's what I'll be. And then that's what I became. And then I learned it. We failed miserably, like, you know, because we were so young. So we like lost our studio, lost our tour bus, lost everything. Like we had a 25,000 square foot building, and I walked to that studio one day, and there was yellow tape around it. And it was seized because we didn't pay our taxes, right? And we didn't even know that we had taxes because our accountant had fired us. Like, it was just, we were just thrown into all this kind of money, and we had no direction whatsoever, right? So it's good now. That's changed a lot in the industry, because back then they would just throw you a lot of money and kind of just leave you there to hang. But now it seems like, you know, with the internet and, you know, you can Google everything and find knowledge. Seems like people are making better investments and stuff like that. So that's how I became a publicist. And then when I was out on the road with Days of the New, I met Kevin Skinner. And Kevin Skinner, it was funny, on the Truth Is channel, he flashed a picture of Kevin Skinner when I said that, and it was like a white acoustic guitar player. That wasn't Kevin Skinner. Kevin Skinner was Whitney Houston's manager. It was funny, someone said that, they're like, that doesn't look like Kevin. But anyways, he has a real controversial past with Whitney Houston that you can just Google Kevin Skinner and Whitney Houston and see their history. But he introduced me to John Houston, and I started working for John Houston Entertainment. And at that point, it was like, that's when my career was like off to the racehorses. So she had a big publicist, like her publicist was named Nancy Seltzer, but I was the publicist for John Houston, and Whitney just related to me more, I guess, because Nancy was very industry and I was more like raw and really had no business working with an icon like that. Didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. I think she appreciated that. But I learned to sharpen my sword through John Houston and Kevin Skinner, right? That's when I started to really develop my craft.
So when you talk about developing your sword and becoming like sharper at what it is that you did, because I think it's very important before we delve into a lot of the things that a lot of people are really here to listen for. As a publicist, your day-to-day involved you doing what?
So back then it was a little bit different, and I'll tell you then and I'll tell you now. Back then it was create press releases, create the narrative. She has an album drop or a single drop or a video drop or a commercial or a tour. You know, you would issue the press releases out to the public. And a lot of people think that when you see PR Newsweb and PR Newswire, and we're going to issue a press release and the world is going to see it. And really, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like, a press release is more to be like what the back end sees. Like, it's a press release, not a public release, technically. So, you know, you would craft like the narrative. You would send it to, you know, the major publications, and then the publications, you know, would write the tour, you know, whatnot. You would send albums out in advance so people could review them. You would set up the press day for the artists. Then when they go on tour for each key market, you would set up the press in each key market. So it was just constantly like, you know, phone, and that's it. And nowadays it's all social media. The need for publicists aren't really as much as what they were, because you can go to that artist's social media, you can go to their website and you're going to find the email address and you can reach out to them direct. So the publicist was like the go-between the artists for the media. Nowadays, artists are posting up their own quotes and their own stuff. They don't need to get it from a publicist. They get it directly from the artist. That's why like Twitter is great for that, which is now X. Is that's why you see someone issued a statement on Twitter most of the time, because you can tell by the language, by the way that they type, that that's coming directly from, you know, the artist or the celebrity or the actor or the actress, whatever. You know, it's not really crafted by a PR person. The artists are just doing themselves.
So there's less of a space for publicists today as opposed to 20 years ago.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think that that needs to change, because you see somebody like Donald Trump, it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like with this messaging, you know, that he gets across, like if he refined some of the stuff that he said, you know, he could maybe be a great president, you know, but it's just, it's like it seems like he needs a publicist. And I'm not dissing him. I don't want to talk politics or anything like that. I'm just saying, you see some of these publicists just really like, you know, hurt themselves by what they're saying, impulsive without really thinking, you know, and talking it over, because it is a brand and it is a business at the end of the day, which, you know, you have a lot of staff, you have a lot of people on payroll, you have a lot of people to depend on you. So you just can't be saying stupid stuff out there, right? It's just, you know, so the publicist need is still there, but you just have to, you know, find the right fit, because these new artists, I've noticed like, I love to work with new artists, and they don't know how to get to the major blogs, the major publications, you know, the major playlists and everything else. And luckily I have those relationships. So I still do it sometimes if something like blows me away, but you know, most of the time I don't, you know? So I've made some good investments throughout my life where I don't really need to like seek out to find work, and I'm good with where I'm at, you know?
Yeah. And I'm happy to hear that for you. I am curious though. So how did you go from your time with working as a publicist for Whitney, and God rest her soul, and what's the next big name? Was it Rihanna? How did you go from one person to the next?
And there's a lot of misinformation out there about the Rihanna project, right? So hopefully, you know, we can talk about this, because I talk about it constantly. It always gets misconstrued. So when I was working with John Huston Entertainment, I was hired by the producer, one of the producers of the songs. At first, I never met her. I never knew her. She was just like an unsigned artist that the world didn't even know yet. So that's what I did. So the producer hired me, and he asked me to craft a press release. And I crafted and I wrote the first press release for Pon de Replay, and we put it out. And we started working the record. You know, I was a publicist for the song, hired by the producer, because there's no reason why an unknown artist would even need a publicist at the time. Then it blows up and takes off. And she had an issue with the producer from that, because we did so well with that. I went to like Hillary Duff, Angie Stone, and just kept going, you know, through the roof. You know, RZA, Wu-Tang Clan. I worked with Teddy Riley for a long time. Teddy Riley got me on Michael Jackson's last record after Michael Jackson had passed. And I've just been, you know, doing it ever since.
Oh, wow. So you never actually met Rihanna in person, but you did.
I did.
Work. You
did. I did. But I did. No, while we were doing Pon de Replay, like in New York, like when it started to blow up, then I did. So because there's some statements that came out from Rihanna's camp that wasn't from her lawyer, that was from Beyonce's lawyer when the book dropped, when the Becoming Beyonce book dropped in 2015. And everybody was calling me, you know, Rihanna's publicist. And he didn't know anything that was like happening. Then the producer, who was like really embarrassed that information had came out in the book, everybody just kind of like blamed me, and I fell on the sword. And then Rock Nation Tidal contacted me, and they were like, you know, we need you to handle this. And handle this crisis. And, you know, they kind of gave me the narrative of what to say. And that's what I did. And then that confused things even more with everybody. And then I never felt comfortable like all these years doing it, because it's like, oh, you're the guy that made up, you know, the lie to break Pond to replay. So that's what I've been out here trying to do, trying to like, you know, set the record straight, so to speak.
So I think that's a great transition, setting the record straight. But you said yourself that you started a rumor about, I believe, Jay-Z and Rihanna. And I think that's a great time to transition, because you have made a lot of claims and said a lot of things over the past couple of weeks that many people would say are extremely controversial. You've gotten a lot of mixed reactions. In the video that I did for it, is sitting at about 450,000 views in 3 days. Much bigger reason why people believe that it's clout chasing is because you're documented coming at yourself and admitting that you've lied on celebrities before. So my question to you is, what is your response to those people? And how do people even know to believe some of the things that you've been saying, if not all of them?
So that's another thing about a publicist, is you're supposed to fall on the sword. You're supposed to clear up and say stuff like, oh, the Twitter was hacked. And, you know, you're supposed to, part of the publicist's job is to, you know, clear up the media stuff and even take blames for things that you didn't do. So honestly, that's stuff that's happened like that. That's been part of my job, because, you know, I'll protect my clients at all costs was like my whole stance back then. But now it's crazy as I've grown up. And you got to think, when I was doing that, you know, I was in my 20s, right? So, and I'm hungry and I'm trying to, you know, get on myself, and I'm doing whatever it takes, and I'm compromising all over the place, you know, and I'm just not thinking about long term at all. I'm thinking about, you know, making it and going further in my career. So that's why if your client says, hey, we need you to do this or say this, that's what I would do, pretty much.
I see. Even if it was true or not.
Well, yeah, if you're protecting the client, correct.
I see. And one thing we didn't talk about.
So basically, is you're telling their truth, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I got out of it, because it's almost like you're a criminal defense lawyer. You know that you're representing a criminal, but for whatever reason, you're doing your job. That was like my job, you know, to do that kind of stuff, especially when it's like high profile things like that. And honestly, the money that is made, you know, to do that is crazy. So do you see the dates down here? 4/27, 2005.
Yes.
05. So this is Jennifer Vineyard. And at the time, she works for MTV. Okay, and this is 10th, 2005. She says, what's Jay-Z's newest venture? I says, which is a story. This is a pitch to her, to MTV. On the Houston book, but I have all the info soon. In the meantime, I have something hotter, which is a press story from the inside of Jay-Z's newest venture. Producer, hot stuff. I want to email you first if you're interested. That's from March 15th, 2005. And then she says, what's Jay-Z's newest venture? And then the next one, the press release is attached. Let me know when you run it. Please include Veda Nobles. That's the producer. And then right here is Rihanna's very first press release for Pond to Replay. And this is March 16th, 2005, right? And it talks about Veda Nobles being the producer. Noble's current undertaking is Def Jam Family News. You know, talks about that meeting that we've all talked about. But she got a deal. So then flash forward, let me know when you run with it. Then I'm following up. Did you get press release? Is MTV interested in it? If not, let me know ASAP. This is still Jennifer Vineyard from MTV. And then she says, we'll know tomorrow after our meeting. And then thanks, let me know tomorrow. She says, we're doing an item today. And this was the first time that Rihanna got any press release, March 16th. And then she sent me this message. She says, sorry, it's small, but on a widely read page, just got swamped with MJ trial and Little Kim verdict today. And this was her first story, right, in 2005. But it's so old that it is now like down, right? Because it's just, you know, so old and they don't archive it. The first time Rihanna was featured in the press was through this press release that we did with Jennifer Vineyard MTV, right? So that's that out of the way, so you can see, you know, that it is real, you know.
Got it. 2005 is a long time ago. That's crazy. That's dope that you held on to that.
Exactly.
But let me ask you too. I want to give you an opportunity before I forget to ask you. A lot of people, they're a bit confused before we even get into like your time working for other people. They're a bit confused as to why you're coming out and saying a lot of the things that you're saying, why you're comfortable doing it on camera, which you talked about that in another interview, but I want to give you an opportunity to say it again. Why you're so comfortable saying these things on camera. And if some of these things, or if any of these things are true that you're saying about, you know, the claims that you've made, why would you have, in particular about Drake, why would you have this poster of him on your wall? That's what myself and a lot of the people are arguing about.
So a lot of people are asking me about that, right? It's simple. The image behind me of Drake, which I blurred out now, is from the album Scorpion. And that's the Scorpion album cover. And on the Scorpion album is the song Sandra's Rose. And Sandra's Rose is a song where he mentions Louisville and gunners and strip clubs and casinos and Louisville hush money. And so when someone pointed it out after the Jaguar Wright interview, I thought, wow, that's really deep. I never looked at it like that. I never even thought about that. So I put the Drake thing behind me as a reminder. I put it on my wall as a reminder of Scorpion and a reminder of that song. And every time that I was doing interviews, that would be there, because my plight in all this is not for clout. I've had clout. I've had success at the highest level. My plight is for justice, right? And if he was involved, which I don't think he was, right? A lot of people do, but 3 people went to prison and they pled guilty to kidnapping and robbery charges. That's why it's there. It's like, you know, it's something to look at. It's not for anything else other than that. It's for me as a reminder of Scorpion. And it's like almost like a to-do list. I'm a visual person. Let's think about that. Let's look into that. Let's attack that. Let's figure out what that is. And really, I don't know why people would even be concerned about why the Scorpion album cover is on the wall, you know?
Well, I think it was just a matter of, if you're saying or entertaining the idea that a person, whether they're famous or not, had something to do with your livelihood, something as serious as a home invasion, despite what the accolades or the accomplishments may be associated with that person or that project, why would you have them on your wall? And my question for you is, because I understood from your Truth Is interview that you didn't necessarily believe that Drake was behind it. Truth Is said that he does. He does believe that Drake may have had something to do with it. But I do want to ask you, why would Drake, and is it a coincidence that the lyrics to that record just so happened to coincidentally align almost down to a T to the situation that happened to you?
Yeah, it's strange. It's really strange. And it's something that, you know, I'm processing and thinking about and, you know, try to figure it out, you know. And it's just like, if I have the album cover back there, people can, you know, look and see the song Sandra's Rose. And the more people we touch, the more people that we're going to get to look into it. And then maybe that can, you know, lead to some justice, if that were what happened. Jaguar Wright also believes it. She's the one who told me. And she said that, you know, shout out to Jaguar Wright. She's the one who told me that she found my information on the dark web about that. And so without her really even knowing what happened, she's the one who told me that, like a person. But that, you know, that's what she told me. And everything that she's ever told me has been 100% spot on.
Wow. My next question for you is going to be, why would, or you talk about a show that you did called One Shot or something, like One Mic or something. If you could talk a little bit about that, and 2, talk a little bit about the work that you did for Drake and or Drake's baby mama, Sophia or Sophie, whatever her name is. Talk just a little bit about what that work included and how things ended up going left, if they went left.
So I got contacted by Sophie to handle her crisis situation with Drake. And it is something that really drew me into her project. Is I was adopted, right? So I didn't meet my biological mom until I was in my 40s. I still never met my biological father to this day. But, you know, it's safe to say that, you know, being adopted, I have, you know, mommy issues, right? So when she was going through the situation that she went through, I just felt compelled to stick by her because nobody else was. And she was taking a beating socially and social media. All that stuff has been wiped. And people were calling her a porn star. And people were really attacking her character because they were claiming that she was with other rappers such as A$AP Rocky. So I came in as a child without his mother. And I saw how hard she was defending her son and what she was going through, which at first she thought was her daughter, right? And I just stuck up for her and I rocked with her, right? And then the home invasion happened and I was with my daughter and I was completely like manic and devastated and, you know, was going through so much trauma myself and with my child. So I sent Drake like a lot of crazy, you know, messages, you know, that I can also show you, but because I was so deeply hurt by what had just happened with my mom. So Drake kind of with my daughter in the home invasion. So weirdly enough, Drake became like my punching bag because he wasn't doing right by Sophie at that time because he didn't know that this was his child. So, and he didn't believe it. Now, obviously he believes that's his child. I went through 9 months of that.
Okay, let me just ask you though, because I already know the people in the comment are going across the world are gonna ask this question if they see this video. When you use terminology like Drake became my punching bag, I'm sure you can understand how that just sounds ridiculous. And so one of the questions I have is, I think I know the answer to this, but it's important to ask you, do Drake actually know who you are? Has Drake ever responded to you and acknowledged that you have this affiliation with the mother of his child? And what was his reaction or responses to you, you know, sort of reaching out to him and expressing how you felt that he was treating or maybe not treating the mother of his child? And if you want to show this evidence that you say that you have, please feel free to show these messages or whatever you have.
For sure. I'll show it to you after I answer your question.
Okay.
So Drake definitely knows who I am, right? He got involved. So like when I told you that I was working with Sophie, then all of a sudden Future, his manager, contacts me, not Future the rapper, Future the Prince. So Future the Prince contacts me and he's like trying to mediate the situation. So then I started talking to Future the Prince every day. And then I started communicating with Drake every day. And then I, you know, because I was trying to handle crisis because this woman was all by herself with the child growing inside her. I was, like I said, I was very passionate about that. And with the trauma that I had just, you know, went through. So yeah, Drake definitely knows who I am. And, you know, we spoke several times. And let me just show you this. This is Drake's lawyer, right? This is on June 7, 2018. And this is the declaration. And you can read A right there, what that says, you know, with Drake. So, and then there is
this something you actually signed?
This thing. Yeah. This is the hush money, right? This is where that hush money came into play. This is Drake's lawyer, and you know, you can go forward. This is that. We don't want to show that information. This is me sending it to people, you know, like, oh, so there's a, you know, signed agreement from Drake. And then about 2 weeks later, Scorpion dropped and he's talking about the Louisville hush money, right? So
interesting. You
saw those messages of what I need to destroy and everything, right? So obviously he knows who I am.
What is it called? One Shot, the television show.
One Shot.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just talking a little bit about that for people to understand just what it was, what role did you have, sort of the affiliations.
Let me show you this. All right. So contacted me about, you know, like DJ Khaled. Do you know if DJ Khaled received the package? John 3 went up, right? And that's 16. That's a Billboard premiere. DJ Khaled, you know, people reaching out for an event that we had. Or so this is just to show you about, you know, DJ Khaled was also a client. DJ Khaled feature on ebony.com. You know, I'm a contributing writer for an interested in interviewing DJ Khaled and about him joining Beyonce's Formation tour. You know, this is 2016. And DJ Khaled on BBC News. This is like for one of his like Snapchat things, right? So you see, you know, that I was also, you know, a publicist for DJ Khaled, you know? This is the last one. This is from Wave 3 News, right? And it says Louisville music producer leaves BET One Shot to reunite with birth parents. This is like my birth, June 6, 2016. And you can find this link yourself. You know, I'll send it over to you as well. Talks about me, obviously, leaving One Shot because it was so weird. Like, people talk about the Diddy freak-offs, the stuff that was taking place at One Shot, like Sway Calloway and DJ Khaled and RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. And I booked him for like a Scratch magazine cover. And I worked for his company called Civil Rings, Rings and Partners Entertainment with Civil Rings. So to see the way that these guys behaved was absolutely the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Like, I was upstairs. First of all, Khaled, RZA, Sway Calloway, we were all upstairs and we were working on music. And it was in this big like mansion. And somebody had said something about they were passing around coke, like on a plate. And RZA was like, "No, you don't want to get dick." And I looked at my girlfriend, my fiance at the time, and I was like, "What?" You know, but, you know, trying to keep it cool. You know, I'm on my job, I'm on the work. And I didn't coke dick even a minute time. I was coke dick. So sorry to be vulgar. Then they all head downstairs into like this living room. And so I'm upstairs with King Tech. King Tech is Sway's partner. It's Sway and Tech of the morning show. They've been around since the 90s. They interviewed Tupac and Biggie. King Tech and Sway have their own show on Shade 45. And Tech we were upstairs working on music, and he was like, "Hey, don't go downstairs. Don't go downstairs." And then in between the music, like when when you're recording music and it would stop, you would I heard all these noises, like it sounded like a porn. Right. And I was, you know, thinking, you know, what is this? And I noticed that Tech, you know, would try to get the music back on real quick. And I'm like, are they shooting porn down there? Is what I was thinking. I know that the two women that were part of the show had left. It was just the guys. So I told him I was walking out of the studio room. And he was like, "What? No, where are you going? Don't go downstairs. Don't go downstairs." I was like, "I'm going to the bathroom." And I did. I went to the bathroom. And I noticed he had turned the music off and thinking that he's listening to me. And I'm in the bathroom and I could just hear it, you know, and it was just so loud and it was just men, you know, and I'm just like shocked. So I tried to peek my head around and I could just see like the shadows and I could see like a part of like RZA, and he was, you know, naked, and you could just hear them. All the men with all the sex noises going at it, like aggressive, and obviously with like RZA and Khaled and Sway. And I still don't know who the other person was. You could identify all their voices, and it was loud and it was vulgar and it was absolutely crazy. So then I walked back in the room, and, you know, I told Tech's playing the music, and I went up to him. I was like, "What are they doing downstairs?" He's like, "Oh, nothing. Just, you know, they're working on the stuff. Just whatever it was." He was just like, you know, BSing me. But at that point, I'm listening for it, and I could keep hearing it. Like, they had their own, you know, stuff happening, you know, downstairs. About 30 minutes later, they came up, and it was the four of the guys. And that's when we all started, you know, they all started drinking a little bit. And I was just completely shocked the whole time. And I was disgusted because I looked up to Sway Calloway as a journalist for so long. And he's married. And I looked up to Khaled, and he's married. It wasn't necessarily the homosexuality that bothered me as much as it was the adultery that was happening. Like, these are men that I really looked up to. You know, and the dishonesty and deceit from someone like RZA, who constantly preaches about, you know, being good and being wholesome, and, you know, and here he is, you know, cheating on his wife with a man. Same with DJ Khaled, you know, and it really affected me, you know, but what could I do? So
why won't you say the words alleged, even for your protection from a legal perspective or otherwise? Why not use the word alleged?
Because it's not alleged, because I witnessed, I saw it. It would be alleged if I believed, or that was my opinion, or that was my feeling. Then I would love to get a cease and desist, or I would love to get a lawsuit where I had to prove that this isn't slander, because they know, you know, what I know. And that's the reason why nobody's ever contacted me. They just are hoping, you know, that it's going to go away. And for whatever reason, it just keeps building. And I keep doing these interviews, and we've been going viral. You know, I read the comments from, you know, the people sometimes, and I laugh, and they're like, you know, why is he hiding? He's hiding. It's like, you know, like now people say because I'm wearing glasses and I'm wearing, you know, this big pink thing and I'm wearing this hoodie, he's hiding. No, I'm not hiding. But what I'm really hiding is like my hair, because it's like my roots are jacked up. I've used 3 different people throughout 7 years to, you know, to do my hair. And like, I'm marrying like a Dominican woman that I've been with for 4 years. And Dominican, you know, culture, it's all about hair and nails and, you know, looking right. And it's like, I'm wearing the glasses because I'm hiding the bags under my eyes. I'm keeping it real, you know, because Dominican culture is so particular. I don't want my girl to be like, oh my gosh, she looks so washed. Like, why haven't you done your hair? Blah, 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 blah. So that's why it's really about her. I'm trying not to embarrass her and her family because they are like fully groomed. So I'm out here just like being raw, uncut, unfiltered. I'll probably look back at this stuff and be like, dang, dude, I could at least fix my hair. Right. But whatever.
Speaking of being raw and being yourself unapologetically, you talk about the comments. A lot of reoccurring thing that people were saying in the comment section was that part of the reason why they believe you're saying some of these things about these celebrities is because you're in denial. So for the people who feel that you are homosexual or you are bisexual, whether you agree with the lifestyle or not, what is your response to them? Is it not their business? Is it something you don't care to talk about? What is your response to that?
No. So like, I'm definitely not homosexual. I'm 100% heterosexual, right? Like my girl is a girl with all her female parts, you know, the person I'm going to marry. I've never been in any kind of sexual relationship with a man. And, you know, that's just what it is. And to be honest, in like 2001, I did this project and I got close to a transgender woman for the project, and she was brilliant. She was like a PR wizard, and she had done TED Talks like 5 times, and she was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my whole entire life. And so I would post pictures of the project that we're doing, right? There wasn't anything like inappropriate with her. She wasn't, you know, flirting with me. And at first, I didn't even know that she was transgender. Right? I had no clue. I thought she was a woman the whole time. But when she told me, I was shocked, like, wow, you know, but I kept working because I saw past it and I saw how brilliant she was. And we did this LGBT project. And so when I would post these pictures, like on my Facebook, my family back home and at Southeast Christian Church, they got really offended by that, you know, because in the South, it's not as open as it is like in New York for being, you know, gay and straight. Like I said in an interview before, but in New York, when you're out in the streets, it seems like there's more gay couples than there are straight couples. It's everywhere. Now, if that was happening in the South, people would be freaked out, right? But in New York, it's just a regular thing, you know? And I notice people are saying like, why is he laying down? Why is he covered up? It's like, I'm laying down because I have stage 4 osteoarthritis in my knees. And I've just been doing stem cell therapy, right? To rebuild cartilage in my knees. So yeah, I'm doing these from bed. Like I'm just keeping it 100% honest with you. So I see all these conspiracy theories in the comments and I just laugh. I get a kick out of it, to be honest, you know? And then I've heard some people say, oh, he's doing symbolism. What?
I hadn't seen that one yet, but a lot of people are saying, how is it that he would know that these people are indulging in these activities if he's not a part of it? Right. And I think that's a fair question. I think you could even say like that's for those who are on the outside looking in, that can be deemed as a fair assessment. Right. Why would you or how would you know some of these
Correct.
things? Like you've never been a publicist for Jay-Z, right? But you've made some statements about Jay-Z as well. And a lot of people want to know, how do you know these things?
Well, I've been a publicist for Jay-Z's artist, who's a Mill, who was involved with Jay-Z from his 3rd album. You know, she was on, you know, Can I Get A, which is one of Jay-Z's biggest hits. And she was on, you know, Jigga What, Jigga Who, you know, she was on that. So I worked with her. I was dealing with Jay-Z constantly because I was a Mills publicist. Right. And then when I was a Mills publicist, and then I would be hired, you know, by Def Jam, you know, to do PR. And so I always dealt with Jay-Z. Jay-Z's very hands-on with everything that he's doing. You know, people know that, like, you know, like in the industry that he was at that time, you know, bisexual, you know? So, I mean, you would see him.
People in the industry know this. First, 2-part question. How do you know? And I guess 3-part, do you have proof? 3, when you say people in the industry, who are we talking about, generally speaking?
So, like, since I was working with the Mill, and people in Def Jam to release her project. Those type of people, you know, like Tata and Jay-Z staff at the time, everybody would talk about, you know, just shocked that Jay-Z was also bisexual. So it's kind of like being in that circle. People would always talk about it, like shocked, you know, that he would do that. As far as Sway Calloway, RZA, DJ Khaled, I just told you I witnessed it. I was there. I was with those guys and I heard it, and that's it. They weren't doing porn. They were going at it, man. I know that is true. I was there when it was happening, right? Like, it'd have been amazing, like, if I took a picture, but, or would it have been amazing? Would that have been like, you know, that's crazy. So unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of gay acts, but that's why I'm out here saying the stuff that I'm saying, because I'm not worried about any kind of lawsuit, you know, whatsoever, because
Absolutely.
they're going to have to prove that I'm not.
Yeah. No, I think you may have caught the tail end of what I was saying. As far as the Jay-Z, if I'm being a devil's advocate and we're just trying to be fair here, to be fair, you never actually seen anything with Jay-Z. These are just things that you heard in close proximity.
Correct. As close proximity as you can get with Jay.
Okay. Got it.
The other people that I've said is what I've witnessed myself.
Okay. So did I remember hearing correctly? Did you ever say Drake as well? Did I hear you say his name in the Truth Is interview or no?
Hopefully I didn't say that. If I did, well, I mean, yeah, because you saw the paperwork that I showed you. That'd be wild, you know?
Yeah.
But even then, listen, I don't care. Like, if, you know, if they want to come, you know, and sue me or whatever, nobody's done anything. Nobody's came and said anything because they know how I roll. Like, if I get a cease and desist letter, I'm going to leak it to TMZ, because that is going to get people to be like, okay, because they know that I learned the PR game from them. So it's like they're fighting one of their own soldiers, right? So if I get a cease and desist, like I said, I'm going to TMZ with it. And TMZ loves to post legal documents. And any kind of cease and desist from a DJ Khaled or a Jay-Z is going to be headline news. And in that cease and desist will be that I'm making claims that they have cheated on their wife and they're gay. And then we will have to prove in a court of law that they are not that. And I would love that, because then there'd be witnesses called and we would be able to show, you know, proof, and we'd be able to talk about it, and we'd have to go on record. So there would be nothing more for me to get contacted from any of them for a cease and desist. And then we have to prove this in court.
What do you say to people that say this is less about doing it because the spirit is leading you to do it, and it's more about clout and trying to have another Katt Williams moment earlier this year?
So, like I said, I was just thrown into this, and it's just kind of grown on itself. And I'm just out here speaking about it. And there's nothing that I'm selling. There's no product that I'm pushing. You know, I've made a career, like, as a publicist. I have a legacy. So as far as clout, I don't think I'm chasing clout. Like, I'm chasing danger. Like, and danger is like danger for, you know, exposing these things and talking about this. And I'm not worried about, you know, the artists in general. I'm worried about the fan bases. I'm worried about, you know, some of these kids, you know, out here who might, you know, want to test me, who are a fan of so-and-so, that will try to, you know, do something. I'm more worried about that. And when I say worried, I'm not like, you know, freaking out. Doesn't change my life. And when I go out, I'm wearing these same stuff. It's not like I'm hiding on here. Like, my Instagram and my website and my photos are out there. Everybody knows what I look like. So I'm not trying to hide my identity whatsoever, right? So that's just what it is. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know that God is leading me. Because I would tell you one thing that my mom told me, the mother who raised me. She told me that, she said, always, my whole entire life, like, every time I would do something successful, I would always go to my mom. And my mom would kind of not be impressed. And it's like, you don't have a child. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. None of them are doing the things that I'm doing, like getting the press and doing this at such a high level. And I would always go to tell her, like, my accomplishments, and this is what I'm doing, or I'm on TV, or I'm doing this, and look, I'm in a magazine, or look at these plaques. Like, I've got so many, like, Billboard plaques and, you know, multi-platinum plaques. She always said I had a special gift. And like I told you, like, my grandfather, who helped start Southeast Christian Church, my uncle was a founding member. They always wanted me to get into, you know, preaching or into, you know, doing something for the church. and I've always ran away from it. And everything that's happening now is new. I can't tell you what's going on, but I've never felt this close to God in my whole entire life. And like I told you, I'm just being led, and hopefully I'm doing good, and hopefully I'm kingdom building, and hopefully God sees my heart, and I hope, you know, I'm doing something that he's proud of, because I know I've done so many things that haven't been good, that I haven't used my gifts to glorify God. You know, I've done a lot of like stuff that in music that I really, you know, regret. And that's the one thing about the home invasion is when that happened, like, and I was duct taped, and, you know, they duct taped my eyes, and I didn't know if my daughter was duct taped until after we got out, but I assumed she was because I could only hear her. And my hearing was like on high alert because I'm just listening for her, you know, listening for where she's at. And I'm just praying the whole time. I wasn't going to be weak. My daughter wasn't going to see her last moments on earth with her father, wasn't going to see me begging for my life, wasn't going to see me pleading, wasn't going to see any of that. I knew for sure I was going to die, right? I thought for sure. So I wanted her to see me as strength. And to be honest, I was so depressed that I didn't care if I did. That's where I was at, because I just went through that breakup. I just wanted her to be good, right? So while the duct tape was around my eyes and I was sitting in that chair, I was praying, you know, if we survive this, God, I'll never do any kind of violent music, any kind of rap music. When I say rap music, I'm talking about violent content, rap music. I won't do anything to promote any of that lifestyle again, because as I was sitting there thinking, I was like, this is exactly the music and the behavior that I'm promoting. And one of the people that I thought was Biggie, you know, when he says in Hypnotize, your daughter's tied up in a Brooklyn basement. I face it, not guilty. That's why I stay filthy. You know, your daughter's tied up in a Brooklyn basement. And it comes across as like, you know, hypnotized, Biggie, 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 can't you see? And he's like Ronald McDonald, especially in Brooklyn. It's like you see his murals everywhere. You see all that stuff. And it's like he had the most violent content. I don't know how this happens. I don't know how Jay-Z, who is a gangster rapper, you know, is friends with like Barack Obama, and how he's so celebrated with the type of music that they do. And so I've always been convicted of that. So like once that happened, the home invasion happened, I started doing jazz music, and honestly, I became real angry with God until like this last 2 months when it started to change. That's why I'm here now. So this is new. This is a new state of mind, but I do feel at peace, and hopefully it's doing good, right? And hopefully, you know, I'm doing good by God and by my family, because the home invasion, I lost my family, my youngest daughter. We don't have a relationship anymore because I'm her trauma, right? And that's why, so it's like, why do I have that picture in the background? Because it's a reminder. And if Drake did have something to do with it, then hopefully somebody will see this and they can get a case and they can, you know, look into it and can get justice, and I can get my family back. Because my child looks as me, when she thinks of me, she thinks of me duct tape. She thinks of us assaulted. And I was her superhero before then. And I'm not anymore. I'm somebody that put her in danger, right? And that's what my family sees me, even though it wasn't intentional, right? Even though that was never the intention, you know, but that's what it is. So I've stayed away, you know. I have my oldest daughter that lives with me, but my family in Louisville, we're not speaking right now. And that tears me apart. And it's because of the home invasion. And it's because of the choices that they saw me do for trauma, which is like during the pandemic, I was like really like partying. You know, I got really lost in like ketamine and psychedelics and tea. And, you know, I just checked out. And then one day I woke up again and I was like, you know, let me get this back together. And that's why I'm, you know, my girl, she was real patient. She picked me up when I fell. Like, she's been there for, you know, the last 4 years. So shout out to her.
Shout out to her. Amen. Thank God that you were, don't want to say you got through that, because a lot of times it's one day at a time for a lot of people. So I'm happy you were in a better space right now, or it sounds like you're in a better space than you were a few years ago. So I hope that continues for you. Just a couple of more questions before I let you go. I do want to just make sure I understand. When you say that during the Truth Is interview, he said that you can't make it to the level of a Jay-Z, of a you know, a Kendrick Lamar, of a Drake, unless you're down with the program and you agree with him. If you agree with that, do you mind explaining what that means? Because a lot of people who are not a part of the industry, which is most people in the world, including myself, when Truth Is mentioned Kendrick Lamar's name, they hopped in the comment section. They're like, what do you mean Kendrick Lamar? Kendrick Lamar is not like these other people. And I'm under the belief that, and this is my belief, I'm not saying these things to be a fact for anybody who's listening. It's my belief that you can't make it there unless you are part of the same club. I think a lot of these beefs are staged. I personally believe a lot of this stuff is orchestrated to generate more sales, to generate more attention, to be a bigger distraction. All of these people, who even the ones that are considered conscious rappers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Kendrick Lamar I think he's a prophet. I think you hear his content and what he's saying lyrically is amazing. Like his last song that he put out, you know, he gave Lecrae a shout out, I was like, heck yeah, man. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, he just said Lecrae, you know, and Kendrick Lamar, you can hear him, I think, in his songs with this conflict. But I think at the end of the day, as Kendrick Lamar gets older, I could see him going full-blown Christian rapper. I think he's struggling with that now. I think Kendrick Lamar, he preaches family and his wife. And I can tell you that the Drake-Kendrick Lamar beef wasn't set up, because he's calling Drake a pedophile. He's calling Drake a deadbeat dad. Like, if it's going to be a setup beef, which there are, you know, sure, they know what they're doing. But this was something that was very serious. And, you know, Kendrick Lamar opened up a lot of people's eyes, you know, to Drake, because before that, we all looked at Drake different. Now Drake, he bodied him so hard that we don't even look at Drake the same, in my opinion.
I'm actually very surprised to hear that response.
I mean, he has the whole world saying A minor and a pedophile and like all those different things. Like, he's exposing him.
You believe that these people like a Kendrick Lamar, like a J. Cole, who are huge, you believe that they are really who they portray themselves to be, right, and it's not a facade.
What do you think?
What do I think? I think J. Cole is my favorite rapper of all time, but I also believe that you cannot, like Lecrae, a rapper like Lecrae will never reach a Kendrick Lamar status. I think a rapper like D1 will never reach a status like Kendrick Lamar and Drake and J. Cole, because I think there's compromise that you have to indulge in to make it there. Now, what that compromise looks like, it may change for the person, but when I look at a person like J. Cole, if you are solely rapping, like you said, about yourself, if you're using your gifts to glorify God, you'll never reach that point. And none of these rappers, none of these artists do that are on the mainstream level. And I don't think that's by coincidence. So yes, I think that there is a level of facade, even if they tell you in their own music that they're not prophets, that they're not, you know, role models. They understand that when you're considered a quote unquote conscious rapper, there's a certain responsibility that comes with that. And I personally see through it. Like when you're portraying yourself with Jesus, you know, the
right. That's understandable.
Floating on water, that's blasphemous. Even if you're trying to say that I'm not your savior, there are other ways to portray that. I think all of that stuff is, and I think a lot of them do the same symbolism, all of them. And it's not a coincidence, including Kendrick Lamar. He does a lot of the same symbolism as a lot of these rappers that he's supposed to be nothing like. Right. I think they're what you call controlled opposition.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, I'll think about that. I just don't, to be honest, I don't know enough about it. But you know, with you open my mind, I'll definitely take a look at it. And like when I did the Truth Is interview, so many Christian rappers contacted me on Instagram, right? And then I'm listening to their music and I'm like, wow, these guys are dope. So I would love to see a movement, and maybe that's my calling. Maybe that's what I'm being called to do, is to, you know, publicize, you know, Christian music and to work in the Christian music field. You know, maybe this is what all this is. This is my testimony, and I'm shedding my skin, and I'm, you know, cleansing like all this, you know, demonic spirit and past and energy that I picked up from being out there in the world. Maybe that's what this is, because a lot of Christian rappers and a lot of Christians are reaching out to me, talking about how they're praying for me. And it's amazing. Like I told you, my state of mind and my peace of mind over this last month has never been what it is. Right. And, you know, I made a lot of compromises. You know, it's crazy that Beyonce, she has that lyric that's so haunting where she says, I'll never compromise my Christianity. And when you think about that, and then how she compromises her Christianity, how she went on to do that is staggering. But when you go and listen to that song, that lyric just jumps out. I won't compromise my Christianity. And then she has, right? I don't know, man. I just take it day by day. I keep praying. And, you know, I love talking to people like you. I love the positivity. I didn't even know it existed. I've been in such a secular world. So I appreciate all these Christian rappers, you know, reaching out to me And I know that I can help a, Christian artist, get some mainstream press and I would love to be a part of something, that's positive, because to be honest, I don't listen to the only music I really listen to right now is jazz music and instrumental music. And I listen to some house music, but it's like I said, it's mostly all instrumental. I'm not listening to lyrics. Now, my girlfriend, she's up on like Future and everybody else, like she loves Ghana and NBA YoungBoy. She's into all that stuff, right? And I'm always telling her, like, will you put on your headphones? Because it's just like, because I'm an old school head. Like I said, I like Public Enemy, and Rakim and stuff like that. But I would love to do, it seems like that's what's happening, is that I'm supposed to be doing something in the Christian music space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope that works out for you. I hope if that is the direction or maybe where you're being led to go. I think that will end up being a beautiful collaboration with your expertise, your knowledge, but using it like your mom has told you to glorify God. And I think that'll be a beautiful thing. As we wrap this interview up, I want to give you this space to say any last words, anything that you think people should know, anything you'd like to share with people.
To the people who are like following me and are watching these interviews and, like maybe any kind of criticism, but it's been like 90% positive. Just, have grace with me, and have patience with me. And, to any of the content that I've put out before has been, been offended to people or caused some kind of energy that has in some way hurt them, I apologize. And, yeah, man, I'm growing every day. I'm evolving. So just keep praying for me, because I do feel better and better every day. I do feel myself getting stronger, because I checked out up until 3 months ago. And then I was like, let me get back into this game and let me do things right, and, here we are. So
absolutely,
that's pretty much like all I have to say. I feel like this was a boring interview, so I'm sorry. And I saw what you said, right? The video that you made that's got a lot of numbers and viral. And I appreciate that. That gives me strength, right? To keep going, trying to right my wrongs out here, trying to do something, positive, trying to contribute, because I know how short, life is. And I know that I have a lot of sins and a lot of things that I have to up for. And I'm actually doing what my mother said, is I'm trying to use my gifts to glorify God. I will stumble, I will fall, but, just keep prayer.
So one of the biggest things I saw in the comment section was that people were saying you have been sent here to help as part of some larger scheme to rewrite hip hop history. What's your response to that?
I said that doesn't even make, doesn't make sense to me, because it's like sent by who, So the answer is no, but it just, I haven't been sent by anybody.
Okay, another thing that I saw was that this has been racially motivated. So in other words, it seems that everyone that you quote unquote exposed or that you have a story to tell about happens to be of African American descent or a Black person. What's your response to that?
It's, I've just worked in like hip hop culture and hip hop, the genre of hip hop mainly, and pop music. And that's just who I've really worked with. To be honest, I haven't worked with many white artists, there's not many white artists that I would even be drawn to really work with, except maybe like I like Mac Miller, I guess, but I don't know. But no, that's definitely not it.
So you haven't been paid or no one's threatened your life to put you in a position where you're going to come out and say these things?
No.
Okay. Another thing that I've already asked you about, but I want to ask again to make sure we're on the same page. People seem to believe that you are seeking to have a Katt Williams moment. Like, this is about just saying some of the most conspiratorial or the biggest conspiracy theories. And because you have a little bit of validity attached to your name, because you've been seen in pictures with these people and you've been affiliated with these people, they think that you're just trying to go viral, and that's your purpose.
I mean, I understand how someone could think that, but you know, like I told you before, all this has just happened, you know, very organically, and people reach out for interviews, and I talk, and you know, that's just what it is. Like, I'm not looking for any kind of Katt Williams moment or anything like that, you know. So I don't think that.
Yeah, and I want to say personally that I actually believe that, because as it pertains to me, and I like to think with everybody else, you're not charging people. Like, you didn't charge me anything to do this interview, which I'm grateful for, and you could easily do that at this point in time. But you haven't mentioned, you know, no sort of price at no point in time. So I actually believe you. What we didn't talk about that you talked about in the Truth Is video was your relationship with Cyhi the Prince. And I can't think of his real name, but you know his real name, who is documented as being the ghostwriter for Kanye West. Well, I didn't realize this until once again in the comment section of this video that, by the way, is well over 500,000 views at this point. Somebody said that Cyhi the Prince was involved in an assassination attempt in 2021. I looked it up and it's true, and he confirmed it himself. And with your relationship, I believe you say you've been friends with him for at least 10 years. Had you talked to him about that? Do we know if it's related to the whole Drake Pusha T revealing of his son's situation, or is that not something you can talk about?
I don't really know any of the legal aspects behind it, right? And like Cyhi the Prince and I's relationship is more business, right? Like, so when people in the Drake camp suspected that I told him about Sophie, and then you know he told Pusha T, you know, is like the farthest thing from the truth, because Cyhi, we don't really have conversations like that where it's gonna be personal. It's been all business.
You said that DJ Khaled, Sway Calloway.
But hold on, let me say something too about Cyhi.
Okay.
He's not necessarily Kanye's ghostwriter, because Kanye is like one of the only artists that credits and like that stands on, you know, that he has other writers, whereas other people hide it. So Kanye gives his writer credits where other rap artists don't tend to do that, you know?
Yes, I do know. And only because I care, and you may have had a change of heart, I want to give you another opportunity. You said that DJ Khaled, Sway Calloway, RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, you've even said Jay-Z, are bisexual.
Correct.
Do you stand by that?
For sure. I can stand by, like, the three people of Khaled and Sway and RZA from what happened on One Shot, because I was there and I like heard it, and you know, it was like being in a room with, you know, people having sex, because that's what they were doing. It was very loud, it was very vulgar, and it was unbelievable to actually experience that.
Have you ever had
Jay-Z, as I told you, like Jay-Z, I've heard from very, you know, close sources and people that I've worked with and being involved. It's kind of, I've heard that like so many times, like over the years. But DJ Khaled, and I believe that, you know, 100%. DJ Khaled, Sway Calloway, and RZA, I was actually there and like saw before, and then, you know, going downstairs and afterwards, and you know, I heard it. Like, you can never unhear that, to be honest. It was crazy.
Have you ever had interactions with Diddy?
I have.
Is it something you can talk about?
I've talked about it before, just when we did the Notorious Big project.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the only interaction. And then before that, in 2005, I was in Daddy's House Studio, and I saw people in the comments like, "Why is he calling it Daddy's House Studio?" That's what it was called. That's what he called it, Daddy's house, right? In Manhattan. It was called Daddy's House Studio. Everybody referenced to it as Daddy's House Studio. I wasn't calling it, you know, Daddy's house, which was funny to think about, that people would think that I was calling it like Daddy's house. But I did deal with him a little, you know, back then, because I was working with Sean C, LV, Grayson Salmon, Rock Rada, Fat Man Scoop. That was all part of the clique that was working with Diddy at the time. And Diddy was also working on that at Daddy's house. He recorded Jay-Z's American Gangster album, and he was a co-executive producer on it, right? So the people who produced that album was signed to Diddy, which was Sean C and LV, and so I got to hear some of the American Gangster tracks before they were recorded at Daddy's house.
And my last question for you is actually going to be a little bit different. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you believe that rap / hip hop, which are not one and the same necessarily, do you believe one or the other, or maybe both, was created by the CIA as some sort of psyop and attack, or something to be used against the urban community, to destroy the urban community?
No, I don't. Because the way these people have came up, like, you got to think when Jay-Z was coming up, and, you know, when hip hop was in its infancy, people looked at it as like a fad, like disco. It wasn't, you know, mainstream accepted. And it's like, it's just grown and grown and evolved. And I think hip hop is so strong that the force behind it, that they just, you know, hip hop pushed down doors, and it became, I don't think that the industry, you know, necessarily probably wanted that to happen, because they were so into rock and roll and, you know, country music or whatever. When hip hop came through and broke through the doors, you know, the record labels had to accept it, because that's what the fans wanted and that's what the consumers wanted. So I don't think that there's anything like that. But then again, I could be wrong, you know?
Yeah, I think that was actually a very good answer. Maybe not the inception, but I do believe that early on there were many things put in place. I do believe that many artists, there's something called, I'm sure you've heard of the term, industry plants. I do believe that there's a such thing as industry plants. When you look at people like, okay, of course they won't come to my mind now. Honestly, I could argue that Drake's an industry plant, but that's one that people won't believe as much. But when you look at Ice Spice, when you look at people like Lil Pump, Lil Nas X, when you look at these people, you have people. This is the way I look at it, and you can correct me if you feel differently. But when I look at a lot of these artists, majority of these artists, honestly, I say, okay, I know people that have been rapping for years. Many of us know people that have been doing music for years that are extremely talented, that have been working for years and can't catch a break. Then you have somebody like Lil Nas X that comes along. You say, well, he just hit the jackpot. He had a song to blow up on SoundCloud, and, you know, Roll Town, whatever it's called, is such a great song. Yeah, but do you understand how many young artists it is that come out of nowhere that have these records, and they all do the same symbolism? They all push the same agendas through their music. They all stand for a lot of the same stuff. You come out of nowhere and you don't work nearly as long as a lot of these other people who in a lot of cases have the relationships even. But you blow up and you have a bigger platform than they do. It's just extremely suspicious, at the least, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but to me, it's like when like a Lil Nas X or somebody like breaks through the mainstream, like he purchased like the beat off like BeatStars or SoundCloud, or downloaded the instrumental from YouTube. I forgot what it was, and then he like blew up. It's just, you know, something about that song.
That's the story they tell us. That's the story they tell us.
Right. but something about that song or those songs like gravitate towards people. And it's something that the industry can't figure out. Like why does this song stick and why does this one not? That's really what I think, and it just depends on like the slow news cycle or why something is gonna work. I really don't know, but I do, and plus we don't see the hard work and stuff that they put in behind the scenes, so I don't know any. I've never worked with Lil Nas X. I've never known anybody that's known him, but most of big artists are the ones who work the hardest, right? They're the first one in, last one out.
Interesting. I want to believe that, but I'd be a little bit too gullible if I did. And this is why, and I understand you're in the industry, you've had your time in the industry, and I've never been in the industry. But just consider this. So you mean to tell me you have a breakthrough? There's these stories like a Sexy Red, who is 100% an industry plant, in my opinion, who worked so hard and just happened to have the right relationships, just happened to break through. But then all of you that get to this level, how do you know? At what point do you know to make the same symbolism? At what point do you know to just come out with 666 Nike shoes and come out with a video where you're twerking and dancing on the devil? There's somebody that came out and said that Lil Nas X is actually not even gay, and that is just a facade that he puts on. There's somebody that came out and said that. So a lot of you that blow up, even the girl that Tyla, who has the water song, I 100% believe that she's an industry plant. These people, right. And Truth Is has made videos on all these people. You have similar stories, a lot of things that don't add up, and it's just hard work. A lot of people work hard.
Right.
How come you can't work hard, but you just happen to be the one that 100% stands for Jesus Christ?
Right.
How come we haven't seen that one time? And no compromises one time. They work hard too.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I haven't really listened to Sexy Red at all, or really Ice Spice. Like, but what I have heard, I haven't been impressed at all. I just think it's, I think it's crazy, like how over sexualized they are, and I have 2 daughters, and it's that's crazy, the stuff that they say. But, my girlfriend, she likes Ice Spice. She likes Cardi B, because she's Dominican and whatever. And she likes it because, they're from New York. I think Ice Spice is from the Bronx. She's into that stuff, but I never pay attention to it. I tune it out. I really lately, like over the last few years, have taken a interest in what I'm consuming. And that's why I told you I really don't listen to like a lot of even like hip hop music, like the newer kids or like the trap music. That's not my thing. Even though I've worked with them, I like jazz music. That's like really where I'm at, and this has just been my job, so especially with some of the stuff that I've seen, it's just, I really don't listen to that much music, or really follow what they're doing. The kids will tell me, and then I'll pay attention. But like, I remember my daughter being 14 years old, listening to 21 Savage, and at first I let her play it in my car, and it's like, I'm gonna slaughter your daughter. I was like, hold up, like this is, and you gotta turn that off, right? Like, so I was real protective, of them, and I just really don't pay attention to what the new kids are doing, or the younger.
My last question. Yeah, here's my last question for you. Have you ever met Kanye?
Yeah.
Because Truth Is also dropped a video where there's been some accusations about this one girl in particular. She's an artist, I forget her name, but she blew up. She had the song with the Migos, and I'll have to probably text it to you. I forget her name, but I can send you the link to the video. And she didn't come out with a lawsuit. She had no motives, just like you. Like, I'm not suing anybody. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not selling anything. None of that. And she told this story about how Kanye West and P. Diddy essentially tried to, they halfway got it done, assaulted her after inviting her and a woman who was at the time, who has a lawsuit right now against Kanye West, was Kanye's assistant, who looks very eeringly similar to Kim K. Accused them of drugging people in the studio, and had she drank the drink that was given to her, she believes she would have been one of the victims as well. But they still attempted it, but she was able to get out of there. She told this story. She's like, I'm not suing anybody. I know y'all not gonna believe me, but this is the truth. She said Kanye West and Diddy did this together. Do you believe that based on your interactions with Kanye?
I don't ever want to say I disagree with the victim, but from what I've witnessed with Kanye, and I'm a huge fan of Kanye. I love Kanye, and I loved when he released Jesus is King. I thought that was the greatest Christian rap album I've ever heard. It seems disappointing to me now to see him like he's like backsliding with the content that he's putting out now. It's like, what the Bible says about, like fake prophets and stuff like that. Like he was so, he was so into God and so into Jesus. So that's what I can say about Kanye. That's been really, really disappointing. But as far as like his fashion and his production and how he spoke out like against Jay-Z and stuff like that, like it's been really, really that's been hard to watch. It seems like we're watching him backslide, though, because like Jesus is King felt like authentic, and like I even supported him when he went on his rant, right? I helped him do some, PR with that. I understood what he was saying. I felt like the media was mixing up what he was trying to express, and they were just cutting little clips, to really play him and bring him down, But listen, I will tell you this. I think this is that we should try to get your viewers, to add, to comment, to tag is Dame Dash. Because Dame Dash knows that Jay-Z, Dame Dash can confirm that Jay-Z is bisexual. 100%. And Dame Dash could really come out, and if people ask Dame Dash, because he's just not going to volunteer that information, if people asked Dame Dash, who was his partner in Rockefeller Records, who put Jay-Z on, who's been with him he was with him for so many years, Dame Dash would confirm that Jay-Z is bisexual for sure. So I think everybody should tag Dame Dash and get him to speak out, because Dame Dash knows that to be the case, in my opinion.
Very interesting, because Dame Dash was on the Breakfast Club and he was questioned about, someone was alluding to something. Maybe it wasn't the Breakfast Club, but it was one of the interview platforms, and someone was alluding to the fact that Jay-Z has been involved with some very young women. And by the way, the Foxy Brown incident that you talked about, Foxy Brown was actually, I believe, 18 at that time. A lot of people in the comment section, I haven't done the math, but they said the year he came out with Ain't No Player or whatever, they said she was 18 that year.
They're wrong. So if you look at her birthday compared to the release date, she was 17. And back then in 1996, when they released Reasonable Doubt, you had to have so much prep time before you could put out a CD, before you could record an album, before it got approved by the label. So it's not like now where you can record something to put it right out. It was a year before that when she recorded that song, because it took years to release music. I mean, they were printing CDs. They didn't have digital music then. So that alone was like a 6-month lead time. So you got to go back, right, to when he was recording that with her. Right.
And he was how old at the time? In his 30s? Late 20s,
when he did
maybe?
reason. Yeah, late 20s when he did Reasonable Doubt.
Sheesh.
But see, Dame Dash can confirm all that. Dame Dash can confirm that like I said, that Jay-Z's bisexual. Dame Dash can confirm that Jay-Z has been with underage women. Dame Dash can confirm that Jay-Z, you know, is really a piece of trash, you know, and Dame Dash knows everything. So the greatest source, everybody should tag Dame Dash, Dame Dash, Dame Dash, and have him speak out. Is Jay-Z bisexual? And Dame Dash will say yes.
To all the people who say, why does it matter? Why do you people seem to care so much about what someone is doing in the privacy of their own bedroom? I've already addressed this even in the first video that I've already dropped. I was saying what I imagine people would probably be saying in the comment section. What's your response to people saying, like, why does the sexuality of a man matter to begin with?
So, you know, for somebody like Jay-Z, I think it's more like the persona of what they portray, right? Like to be this, you know, this gangster rapper, and to be this, you know, this straight man and everything else. Like it's more about the persona, right? And it's like they're hiding that, you know. So like why hide that? What else are you hiding?
Right, a good point, which was my argument. And my last thing is the Dame Dash point that you make sounds valid, but here's my thing. Do you believe that Dame Dash probably wouldn't flat out answer that question because he was probably in on it and he's probably done some things as well? Because I mean, they were business partners, they came up together, but not only that, but there's a photo of Dame Dash in the bed with P. Diddy, and he addressed this on live. He defended himself on live. This man is in a photo with, it's him, it's J-Lo, it's P. Diddy, it's Aaliyah, it's like, and like a couple of other guys in this bed, and they're all laid up, they're all touching each other in the photo. I wish I could show it to you. I wish I could show it to you.
I know what it is. But Aaliyah and Dame Dash were dating. They were a couple. And a lot of times when you're in those positions with photographers will be like, hey, lay closer to this person, you know, do that. So I don't really know what's behind the photo shoot, but I know a lot of like the celebrity photographers, you know, will ask the artist to, you know, to do something or pose different, you know. But we don't know what happened like after that picture, but definitely not Dame Dash, you know, isn't bisexual or hasn't been gay. Dame Dash is like 100% authentic and real, and you know, he gives it to you how it is, and he always has.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.